This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Today is Monday, the 29th of September, 2025. So glad you could join us here today. Coming up a little later on in the program, we'll talk with Sam Trainor of agmarket.net to find out what happened in the markets today. But first, we're going to go up to Saskatchewan, Saskatoon, to be exact, and we are going to be in the mines of the Allen Potash facility run by Nutrien Ag Solutions. We had a chance to hear from their general foreman of mine operations, Zoe Belanger, and she tells us exactly what potash is and what it looks like when it hits the mines.
This is the rock that we are mining underground here. The rock name is potash. The mineral that we want out of it is sylvite. So that's more in our mine, stained with hematite. So that's a bit more of the reddish color in there. It makes up about a third. He's just going to do a little bit of scaling, sorry to alarm you. And then that makes up about a third of the rock is what we're after, right? That's the potassium. Sylvite has the potassium in it. Then the other 2/3 is salt, halite, just like table salts that you would have on your table. And then there is a bit of clay particles in here as well. They make up about 5 to 10% depending on the hand sample. So a whole range of different clays, kaolinite, dolomite. We call these references like insolubles in the mill process. They'll probably talk to you more about how they get those parts out and keep the part that we want. So you see in the big tailings pile on the way in here, you know, that's majority just table salt with a bit of these insoluble clay minerals in it. So this is what we're after down here. How this came to be in Saskatchewan is that it was a salty sea, similar to like the Red Sea, deposited 380 million years roughly. You know, some people reference it as being like 400 million years. So this is well before the dinosaurs. And Saskatchewan at that time, plate tectonic modeling has shown us that Saskatchewan was actually roughly where Peru is today when this was deposited, and then plate tectonic shifted up here. So you can think that you paid a little trip to Peru here in Saskatchewan. So it's a bit hard on the brain to think about how that all happened, but you know, came here and then the salty sea deposited our potash deposit here, which is the largest in the world. So very exciting. And then after this was deposited, it went kind of from being like inland to ocean environment again, and that's why that whole shaft is just sedimentary rocks the whole way up. It goes shale, limestone, sandstone. It kind of just shifts between those three over and over again. So we do find some fossils in our limestone in the shaft, but unfortunately this was a salty sea. Nothing lived in it other than maybe like some microorganisms along those in those clays. So I'm going to answer this. Dan's got it. Okay, thank you. So that's how this was deposited here. What else can I tell you about this rock? This rock, like I said, the name is potash. So they found this in Saskatchewan in roughly the 40s, maybe like the 30s. I might be a little bit off on that. We'll wiki it when we get up. They were searching for oil and gas and drilling for that. And then they came across this rock type here in Saskatchewan, tested it, found out it had potassium in it. And you know, before even that timeline, they used to get potassium by burning down forests, collecting the ashes, you know, a bit more archaic in the 1800s, boil that off and evaporate, get the potassium that they were after. So when they found this rock type, not that it was found in Saskatchewan, I believe it was actually in Germany, we'll also wiki that, that it then got the name potash as the rock name in honor of how they used to get potassium before finding this rock type, being from those trees being burnt down. So obviously not a practice that would be sustainable for the amount that we produce today. We'd be in a lot of trouble if we were burning down forests like that. So great that they found this huge deposit here in Saskatchewan, and that's how it got its name Potash. So a little bit of a fun fact for when you get your pet rock. And yeah, I think I have shared most of the things. Sean, am I missing any of my rock facts?
You got it all.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So
and-
in
yeah.
global market, about 70 million tons, right, which about 20 million tons comes from Canada. Is that right?
That does sound a little bit less than 20 million, right? Less?
So I think
it's a little bit less.
Nutrien's about 13 million tons.
Oh,
Right
yeah,
now-
talking about
right now,
competitors too.
Nutrien
Yeah.
Is, we can produce close to 15 million tons of Nutrien. And yeah, the province with everybody else,
Right.
I think is over 20 million.
Okay, yeah.
Close
I
to
often
20.
just think of just Nutrien.
Canada's
So,
about
yeah.
20 to 25% of the global supply of potash.
Yeah. So very fortunate. Basically, anywhere in southern Saskatchewan, the southern half, you drill a hole, you're likely to hit potash in it. And along the Saskatoon area, we have a series of conventional mines. We also have Rocanville mine in the south, and that's mining a layer that's beneath this. So it is a very thick potash layer that's deposited, and we mine in the A zones. We're right up at the top. So we do have to be a bit cautious about how high up we drill, how high up we cut, because there are water-bearing formations above that we want to be mindful of. And then there's layers beneath, and that Rocanville mine mining in the lower member. So a lot of potash beneath our feet still. So we're just talking about mining in the A zone. We have done a little bit of mining in our history in the B zone. But like I said, once we have this resource kind of mined out in the A zone, there's the layers beneath us, so lots to come. And there was another thing. So then we'll maybe just talk a bit about production along that side. So the crew here is operating a Goodman borer, which is one of our smaller borers, our older style. And then the alternative, like Les mentioned, is a PMP borer. It's a little bit bigger. But they're producing, 700 tons per hour is what our Goodmans on average produce. And, the crew, what we expect to see per shift for production is around that 15,000 tons. And then a third of that is what we're after finished product tons, right? So that kind of puts some of those stats into perspective of what a machine is capable of doing, and then what we're seeing actually feed into the mill. So this goes along this panel belt, all along those mainline belts that we couldn't see because they were off to the side while we were traveling out here, and then up the shaft, well, into a bin, and then out the shaft and to the mill, which we'll learn about more later. So that's some production numbers. Any questions with that?
Just, I was going to make a comment about just ramping up production.
Oh, yeah.
We're running at 3.2 million tons per year right now is our full capacity. And I mentioned we're ramping up to 3.5 million tons by 2029. And that doesn't happen overnight. It's, we have all the equipment we need now, started a couple years ago. And then we're developing out to new mining blocks to create new faces, production faces for the new miner. So, to ramp up production, by the time you purchase a ore, assemble it, and you're mining out, developing new mining blocks, that's to get up in production. That's a 3-5 year process. So you don't increase production overnight. It's a lot of planning ahead and developing. Just to put that in perspective.
Sure. Thanks for that.
So you mentioned you're getting the potash out, and then there are other things. Does Nutrien sell the other things, or is it just...
not at this time.
Okay.
No near future goals for that either, but maybe one day in the future it will be repurposed. I believe New Brunswick, they also have the salt mining process, and so then it can be used that way. But the pile is at this time not used for that, but could be repurposed in the future. Oh yeah, for sure.
Did you say to what happens to all that clay?
What happens to all the clay? It's out on the pile.
Okay.
Yeah, so the mill will talk to you about how they remove that clay, how they get the sylvite that we're after, and break that down into what we want.
That again was Zoe Belanger, General Foreman of mine operations at Nutrien Ag Solutions Allen facility. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association, and the soy checkoff. When we come back, we will go through the closing markets. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. We're back on Ag Matters PM, and it is time now to talk with Sam Trainor of agmarket.net to take a look at what happened in the markets today. And Sam, kicking off with the grains, what kind of day did we see here?
Pretty quiet day here today, Dustin. A little bit on the red side of things here. Corn futures were down just about a penny. Soybeans down about 4 to 5 cents. Just a lack of direction here with this market. Kind of just been stuck in a rut here for a little while. But tomorrow's USDA quarterly grain stocks report could certainly juice up some volatility in this market and send us in one direction or the other for sure.
All right. And so, I mean, it's been quiet. You know, it's just been a real interesting situation. Obviously, trade, lack of trade in some circumstances. And of course, like you said, the WASDE report, a lot of things that are just weighing on this thing. And of course, I know with WASDE, USDA is like just kind of, they're waiting to see what kind of numbers they come up with, if there's going to be any adjustments, right?
That's right. Yeah, tomorrow we'll have quarterly grain stocks, as I mentioned there. So chatter around the industry is that maybe the stocks are a little bit higher than what we've been led to believe thus far. And I'm getting that from our commercial counterparts here at John Stewart and Associates. They've been talking a lot recently about how much corn the farmer still has on hand. That they gather that information via talking to their elevators that they work with, and farmer ownership still seems to be pretty high for this time of year compared to what it normally would be. And with that in mind, they think that the stocks might be a little bit higher than what we've been led to believe this far, which would theoretically be a bearish sentiment on the market. However, I would just remind listeners that all summer long we saw a decrease to ending stocks, so relatively bullish reports, but the market continued to fall throughout the summer. And here, these two most recent reports have actually been a little bit more on the bearish side, and we've had a positive reaction. So who knows what's going to happen here in tomorrow's report, but it'll be out at 11 a.m. Central Time, and I'm sure there'll be some sort of reaction one way or the other.
And of course, I got my WASDE and quarterly grain stocks turned around because it was the WASDE we're looking at those numbers at. But now moving over to the livestock side of things, Sam, what did we see in cattle and hogs?
So a little bit of a pullback again here today. Finished down about 50 cents to $1, depending on what contract you're looking at. And, that just kind of furthers this correction that we've been having here. We went up, made some really strong highs, and we pulled back, tried to recover a little bit of that, and then kind of gave a little bit back here today. But the overall trend still is higher here on that market. Fundamentals have not changed. And yeah, it's just been a very interesting market to watch here, because every time you see a lot of red on the screen, you start hitting the panic button, and it seems like this thing just corrects itself and goes back higher. So it'll be interesting to see how that trades throughout the week as well.
And on the hog side of things, did anything change there today?
Hog side, they took a breather today as well. They were down 70 cents on the December contract. They had the quarterly hogs and pigs report last week, and much lower numbers than what we thought on hand here. So definitely bullish sentiment in that market, and we saw that in Friday's trade, but gave a little bit back here today.
All right, Sam. Well, folks want to look at what agmarket.net is looking at and see some of the intel you guys have, or maybe talk to you guys about some of their options out there. What's the best way for them to get in touch?
Best way would be to visit our website at agmarket.net or give us a phone call at 1-800-779-1515.
All right, Sam's been our guest here today. Thank you so much for the insight. We'll talk to you again real soon.
All right, thanks a lot. Have a good one.
That again was Sam Trainor of agmarket.net. Let's go ahead and take a look at the closing numbers here on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network market screen. At the close, December corn was down a half at 421.5. Soybeans for November down 3 1/4 at 1010.5. Soybean meal down 70 cents at 268.10. Soy oil down 49 cents at 49.11. Chicago wheat down 1/4 cent at 519.5. Kansas winter wheat up 2 3/4 at 508 1/4. Kansas spring wheat unchanged at 551 even. Minneapolis spring wheat up 1 1/2 at 569 1/4. Oats down 3/4 cent at 308 1/4. On the Merc, live cattle down 47 cents at 231.32. Feeders off 80 cents at 356.20. Lean hogs down 35 cents at 101.15. Pork cutouts unchanged at 105.45. Class 3 milk up 20 cents at 16.99. And that is the end of our market recap, and that brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com, as well as follow us on Facebook, X, and on our YouTube channel. While you're there, don't forget to hit the bell icon and subscribe so you can get notified each time we put out a new video project. Also, don't forget about our free market podcast coming 3 times a day right to your mobile device, as well as full replays of the Iowa Ag Matters program and much more online at iowaagnet.com. From the IRN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Mark Magnuson, Riley Smith, and Andy Peterson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.